everybody. This is your big buddy, Gene Hoglan, and you are listening to That Metal Interview Podcast. Turn it up.
That Metal Interview.
The best drummer in the world, maybe top 3 drummers. This guy has to be one of the top 3 drummers worldwide in any genre, hands down. I think so, but that's just my opinion. And my guest is none other than Gene Hoglan, currently of DETHKLOK and DTA in several projects, formerly of Testament, formerly of Death, and the list goes on. So anyways, let's check out his latest and newest recording with DETHKLOK. Here is Get Into the Water, Metalocalypse, DETHKLOK. Check it out. crushing metal in your face, which is exactly what us metalheads like. Crushing metal to melt your face and bleed your ears out. Anyways, that was DETHKLOK's newest material, Get Into the Water, Metalocalypse. For those of you fanatics that know what that is, Adult Swim. And anyways, let's go to our interview with the great Gene Hoglan. Hope you guys enjoy this. Enjoy. So what part of the planet are you at?
I am currently in San Diego, California, which is been my hometown for the last number of years. So got a tiny little window of time. So they decided to book me a whole ton of interviews. So that's what's happening.
That's part of the business, huh? Oh.
Right? There's no days off, and which is fine. Hey man, I'm very cool with that. Absolutely.
Well, first of all, I'm just impressed by your schedule. I mean, I see you with Dark Angel. I see you with DTA. You just did Testament. You're done with Testament since of last year or two.
Right.
You're just everywhere. I mean, do you ever rest?
I'm very fortunate to. I'm doing what I love doing. So when the schedule ever gets a little crazy or whatever, I always remind myself, hey man, you asked for this. This is when you were a kid, I mean a kid, a child, starting off, I was like 11 years old when I decided this is exactly what I want to be doing. And, I'm an absolute, poster child for living one's dream. So anytime the schedule ever gets crazy, it's like, hey man, you asked for this, you wanted this, you wished for this, you made this happen, so shut up.
Wow.
be happy kind of thing. So there you go.
Awesome. Yes, you're living a dream. For many people can't say that. I'm a local musician here in Texas, and you're just living the dream. That's awesome. That's badass. So the very first question is here: how did you get the nickname Atomic Clock? Obviously because of the drums, maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, I guess it's like just I remember strapping young lad. We used to rehearse at the singer of Zimmer's Hole's motorcycle shop. He had a motorcycle repair shop, and we in a garage. And he was also his name's Chris Valago, the Heathen. Val, he also had a special effects, like a movie special. He's a movie special effects creator as well. And he just happened to mention after one of the rehearsals, one time we were just in there jamming, and he's like, damn, Hoglan, you are just the atomic clock, you're just so tight and so solid. And I took that to be a compliment, and it's just kind of a silly little nickname that stuck. I guess it beats, Gene the drumming machine or something, or Mean Gene or something. It's a fun little nickname, and I'm fine with it. It's I take it as a compliment. That's very nice,
Well, talking about it speaks volumes on your talent right there. I mean, I see you jamming on YouTube. I've never seen you live. I've seen you on YouTube many times, of course, like all fans, and you're just a perfection on drums. I've never seen you trip over or make a mistake. Only you would know that.
Oh man, I'm a very human drummer. I make mistakes all the time, but fortunately, maybe I'm able to just kind of disguise. They always say if you screw something up one time, when you come back to that same spot again, do that same screw up the second time, and it makes it look like you did it on purpose, kind of thing. But that's as I've just moved along in my career and my experiences and things like that, I've just I live so much for the show. I live for the show. That's what I spend my entire days when I'm on the road. I spend my entire days getting just prepared for the show. And so it's like, if you've been playing with this band for a number of months or years, or you've been on the road for 3 weeks and you've got another 4 weeks to go on this tour kind of thing, you should be getting it pretty darn tight after the first couple of shows. And I always try to show up prepared. There's been many times when you get that kind of emergency call where it's like, hey man, we just lost our drummer, you know, and
Yeah.
we're in the middle of a tour. Can you be on a flight in the morning and learn, 10 songs kind of thing? It's like, yeah, man, let's make this happen for you. So, you always
Wow.
got to be able to, roll with the tide and just zig and zag and all that kind of stuff. So, but I do just try to be really prepared for the shows. And, everybody that, I don't know, man, you spend your hard-earned money for a ticket. You want to see your band up there pulling off your tunes that you want to hear. You want to see the band really pulling these things off. So that's why a lot of times, like if I'm playing with a band who's already had a number of drummers besides myself, I try to incorporate their styles into their songs. I like playing up, like with Testament. They had a number of drummers before me, and I would try to, emulate, if there's a Louis Clemente, I would try to, I gave myself a lot of free reign with Louis. I would play the John Tempesta versions of Louis kind of thing, but, songs like Low or Dog-Faced Gods got some great drumming on them. Try to play them like Johnny T.
Yeah.
DNR and Fall of Cycle Dome and anything off of The Gathering. Dave Lombardo did a great job on that. You try to emulate their parts, just because people are used to hearing the songs, for the last 30 years a certain way. And so, when they show up live, try to give them as close to what they're used to. That's the way I always figured, like if you're gonna take somebody else's drums on, and it just depends on the drummer, sometimes certain drummers lend themselves to, wow, you can really go with your own interpretation of these drum parts. And there are other drummers where it's like, you want to stick to what they play. It's just kind of a game time decision, sort of thing. So there you go.
Yeah, so how many times have you covered for a band within a short notice like that? I know it's been a couple of times, right?
It's been a number of times, absolutely. God, it all, let me see. You could date it back to the, I'm sure I used to do that. Actually, I've done this back into the 80s, back when I was playing with Dark Angel, with one of my friends' band would be like, dude, our drummer we just had to boot our drummer. Can you step in for a show? I've done that a number of times, even way back when. But there was Opeth, of course. That was it was, you find out at 2 p.m. and by 6 p.m. you're playing the show kind of thing, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Anthrax with Charlie, I had a couple of days. I think he told me on a Monday, and then on the Wednesday, I think I was on stage with him, kind of thing. And Unearth, there was another example of, God, that was kind of a funny story. I got a call from Unearth's management, and they had mentioned, Unearth knew that I was kind of a Vancouver-based guy, Vancouver, Canada.
Yeah.
However, they did not know that I was not in Vancouver at the time. However, I was traveling up there. I was driving up to Vancouver from Los Angeles, and I got a call from their management saying, hey, man, Unearth just lost their drummer. They're headed to Vancouver. We know you're in Vancouver. And can you, by chance, maybe, they're playing Vancouver tomorrow night. Can you pick up the tour from there? And I was like, well, actually, I'm not in Vancouver. I'm not going to be at Vancouver until like early morning kind of thing, and I don't have access. And this was the kind of this was 2007, so it's not like, I don't think there were iPhones or iTunes or anything at that time. So what they had done is they asked me, hey, where are you currently, like physically? I'm like, I'm in very, very northern California. They're like, what's the nearest town near you? I'm like, I would say Salem, Oregon, or Eugene, Oregon. I'm going to be hitting either of those towns in about an hour or so. And they said, we'll call you back. And they called me back like 10 minutes later saying, okay, here's what we need you to do. There's a Best Buy in like Salem, Oregon, right off the freeway. We've called there. We've purchased 2 Unearth record, CDs for you to swing on in there, pick those up, and keep heading on. And so
wow.
That was kind of fun. And so, by the next day, I'm jamming with Unearth. And those, Unearth, I mean, it's a pretty technical band, I mean,
complicated.
that was challenging it's like, wow, this is not like, it's not like a real simple style. Absolutely. So that was a challenge. And
yeah, for sure. Wow.
I mean, this was also another fun thing. And if I'm talking too long, don't, just tell me to shut up. But Testament played Nepal, Kathmandu, Nepal. And this was right before the pandemic. This was in 2019, December of 2019. And I remember there was a band called Underside, who they are actually the promoters of this festival that Testament was going to play. And their representative, we were in the van. They were taking us out to dinner. Their manager was taking Testament out to dinner, and he got a call. Sounded like kind of a stressful call. Turns out it was from their drummer, who was in India. He lives in India, and he was going to be flying in the next morning to play the show, because Underside was one of the opening acts on this tour. Yeah. I mean, on this festival. And he's like, there is so much unrest in the country right now. We're on total lockdown here in India. No flights are going in or going out, so I can't make it out. And at that time, I had not heard Underside, but they seemed like really, really nice guys, And so I just happened to go, hey, I'll play your stuff. I'll play your show with you. And they were, without even batting an eye, they were like, great, awesome. Let's get you some material right now. So within the hour, they were getting me material at the dinner. Like, thank God for Wi-Fi and Dropbox kind of thing. And so I went back, and I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that I was just going by the name Underside. That kind of sounds like maybe a hardcore kind of approach. I bet you it's going to be kind of hardcore, pretty simple beats. There was nothing simple about this band. I strongly suggest people go check out the band Underside. They got a song called Wild. They got a song called Gadamai. Those are great examples of this band. They're killer. They are awesome.
Awesome.
I was blown away at how killer this band was. And then I was blown away with wait a minute, there's nothing simple about this. You've got your work cut out for you. So I was awake until 6 a.m. in the morning. Testament had sound check at 9 a.m. the next day. So I got 3 hours worth of sleep.
Oh, wow.
Jamming stuff in my head, all day long. I played about 4 or 5 songs with them. And Jesus, there's no way I could have played 8 or 10. It was challenging enough to learn those 4 songs. And I butchered them like crazy. So I actually, when I got home from that run, and I felt from that little tour, I really felt like, damn, I did not do these poor guys justice.
Yeah.
Even though everybody was really happy, they were like, "Hey man, thank you very much for stepping in. Very cool. That's awesome." But I wasn't happy with it. I was like, no, let me. So I went and I learned the songs properly. And then I went and put 2 of the songs up on my YouTube channel of me actually jamming the tunes. So just for my own personal, just because I was like, man, I gave them about 40%. You know, let me give them 100%. So I learned the songs proper, went and did a proper playthrough of them. That kind of thing.
Wow.
But it's happened a number of times where it's like, hey man, just jump in, play a tune. I've done it with Behemoth and a number of bands over the years. But
wow,
that's pretty cool.
It just comes with the territory, huh? I mean, you got to be one of the top 3 drummers in the world for sure, and that just comes with the territory. And that's cool.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, for sure. I'm a musician, and I can tell who's who, and you're just a beast for sure. I like the fact that you're being real honest. I mean, you mentioned. You admitted to butchering these guys' songs. That's cool. And then you fixed it. So let's speak of DTA real quick. How were those tours? You did a U.S. tour and a European tour. How did that go?
They were amazing. They were incredible. I mean, there were tons of sold-out shows. The shows themselves were great. We really tried. The guys in Death to All, we love playing death music. We love playing together. So it's a great time for us, and it's a pretty damn cool time for the crowd as well. Anybody that that saw Death back in the day, this is a great representation of Death's material. Anybody who had not had the chance to see Death, we got a lot of young fans that just were not around when Death was around, but they've got a ton of the younger generation of fans. A lot of those young dudes, they weren't able to see shows back in the day. So yet again, this is a fantastic representation of Death's music. So, and that's one thing that we obviously, Death to All plays all of Death. It's we do the entire catalog of Chuck's material. We don't just focus on, like, say, the albums that we played on or something, because that would be rather limited, and that just kind of there are fans of the albums that we played on that, hey man, they're fans of the earlier records as well, so let's play all of them, and so that's why the shows themselves are pretty long. They're all about 2 hours long, and they'll get even longer if we go on some kind of musical tangent, like playing a cover song or just having some fun. Like the shows can get very lengthy, but there's 7 or 8 Death albums to represent, and you want to play a couple songs off each record, and some albums get more songs off them than others, but hey, we try to be a well-rounded expression of Death's music. So the shows are great. They're super fun, and having the Mighty Suffocation on the road with us, great Suffo or Legends, and having the young Nukem from San Diego, those guys are crushing as well. So it was a really a great tour, smooth tour, and we had a great time. And our run of Europe last year, that was also awesome. And as hey man, that was, both tours are a big learning experience of how post-pandemic touring is being taken care of. It is crazy. Like I learned a lot on that European run last year of, okay, if this is how it's now gonna be, this poses some challenges. Absolutely.
So it must have been fun coming up with the set list. I mean, so many badass songs, Death songs. Who's in charge of that? Or just a teamwork, or? It
kind of, it kind of makes itself in a lot of ways, because each album, if you take each album on an individual basis, you go, which are the songs that really resonate with people the most, and throughout history. And kind of there's your set list. Each album has a number of tunes that just leap out at you. So, and we tend to let Max, our vocalist, put it together, and we, because he's got the toughest job.
He does, for sure.
Live, to represent Chuck the way that he does it. It takes a lot of work. And Max is up to that challenge. If you notice, like by watching YouTubes or anything, if you notice, Max changes his voice as Chuck changed his voice. As Chuck's voice just kind of naturally evolved, Max follows that with his voice.
I noticed that.
You can hear that. So that's challenging, and he just takes really good care of himself. Because Death to All, I mean, we are known amongst ourselves anyways. We will play 28 shows in 30 days kind of thing. We will do 17 shows in a row. We've done 27 shows in a row.
Wow.
And kudos to Max and to everybody for, taking care of themselves so we can play all these shows in a row. It's a
killer
challenge,
lineup.
and that's why, like, for myself, man, I spend my entire day preparing for that 2 hours. God, if I'm on stage playing, John Cougar Mellencamp material for 2 hours, big deal, but some high velocity stuff. So you got to be in shape for this. You got to do it well, and so, try to get your proper rest. And, I gave up drinking over a decade ago, and for reasons just like this, because as you just evolve musically, as you evolve, as your experience gets longer, you start augmenting your life to be able to do this with some longevity. Totally, man.
Of course. So here's a different question, Gene. If Chuck Schuldiner would be alive today, do you think he'd still be playing Death, or do you think he would have a different project, a different band?
That's a great question. I would hope that Chuck would be as successful as he would want to be, so Chuck would be able to do whatever Chuck wanted to do. Because Death is a legendary band, and I watched Chuck's musical tastes evolve over the years, and I do remember Chuck mentioning, like when we were doing the Symbolic era of stuff, I remember him, he was always like just crabbing about his own vocals. He's like, man, I wish that I didn't start off playing this style. I wish that I could play in a just guitar in a band with a real vocalist. I wish that I could, because Chuck loved, the heavy metal vocalist. He loved Warrell Dane. He loved Roddy James Dio, Rob Halford, Jeff Tate. He loved all the traditional metal vocalists.
Yeah.
And, when it came time to pack Death in, I see where, you can see where Control Denied came from. And that was, a dream of Chuck,
Yeah.
He's like, man, I just want to write some kick-ass metal and have a vocalist do some vocals over the top of it, where I didn't have to do my death metal screaming. And, so that it was a natural evolution for Chuck's, musical evolution to evolve it towards a Control Denied. But, that's why I say I hope that Chuck would be as successful with whatever he was doing with his music, that he could continue to do the kind of music that he wanted. And he has so many fans that they would evolve with him. Granted, around the Individual Thought Patterns era and the Symbolic era, a lot of the guys that group came up with Death, a lot of the fan base, a lot of them were, admittedly, taken aback by the evolution of style from Individual to Symbolic to Sound of Perseverance. A lot of guys wanted, Scream Bloody Gore parts 3 through 10 kind of thing. Yeah. And maybe those folks didn't evolve with the way Chuck was seeing his music evolving. And hey, that happens. You can't please everybody. But Chuck always he just followed his own heart. He followed his own vision. And if people wanted to evolve with him, fantastic. And if they didn't, then he's still, he's still going to do what he needed to do for his own, integrity. Totally. So I give Chuck absolute kudos for that. Follow your own dream, your own vision, and people will get behind it. You're not going to win everybody, but hey, man, for those 10 people you lose, maybe you gain 100 people. Yeah. That are like, hey, man, I like this new approach. That's why following your own heart, your own vision, that always works. And
I'm a fan.
For me, it never hurts to go even heavier.
Exactly.
It's like, if you're in doubt, go heavier.
Right?
You're gonna win. You're only gonna win. It's like your last album was like, oh man, it was cool, but I want to do something a little different and change it up. Go heavier.
Yeah, I understand.
Win.
And I understand exactly, Chuck. I understand his point where you can't be re-recording Leprosy over and over and over. I get it. Evolving, right? I get it.
Indeed, absolutely.
Yeah. So, speaking of Dark Angel, what comes to mind, Gene, when somebody mentions the album Darkness Descends?
Well, at the time, we were just trying to put out the best Dark Angel album that we could, and nobody ever has a crystal ball. You're just trying to, it's like, do we like this album? Yes. Do we like the songs? Yes. Are we happy with it? Yes. Could we improve upon it? I'm sure. But it seemed to capture a moment in time for a whole lot of folks, and we are very fortunate that it has stood the test of time in terms of its reach and scope throughout the extreme metal community, and I'll admit at that time, I was really young. I was like 18, but I grew up around the Dark Angel guys. I grew up around the Slayer guys and the Metallica guys and Megadeth guys. Those guys were my peers, and so that's the way I felt about it. I feel like you can never compare yourself to another band. You never want to do that. You just want to put out the best stuff you can do. But when your peers are putting out kick-ass records, and you just want to put out a kick-ass record of your own, when your peers are, Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, guys like that, Anthrax, whoever it might be, Nuclear Assault, Creator, Overkill, all those kind of bands, the bar is being set very high, and that's all Dark Angel wanted to do was just put out a kick-ass record, and the fact that it has become as influential as it has become, we did not really foresee that, but I sure do appreciate it when a whole lot of guys from a whole lot of bands have come up over the years going, hey man, that is my jam. Darkness Descends was that thing just melted my brain when I never heard anything so fast and so heavy. And yeah, I'd heard Slayer and Metallica and Megadeth, all that stuff, but when I heard Darkness Descends, everything stopped. There was like, this was it. So we're very fortunate, and that's pretty exciting, to hear folks' comments about it and see where it lands in the history of, here's the top 10 metal records of whatever. That's always nice, So I'm glad people enjoy it, and that's why Dark Angel we just always tried to just put out the best Dark Angel records we could. And sometimes like you take an album like Leave Scars, loved the music on it, was not the biggest fan of the production, but that's our fault, so we tried to rectify that with Time Does Not Heal and bringing in Terry Date, so we knew going into that recording that, hey, at least it's going to sound good. And now we have a new member, Brett Erickson, at that point, so it's like, okay, the band's sound is evolving. We've got a new writing partner for me, Gene, a new writing partner in there, but we're going to keep on rolling, so that's all we ever tried to do, is just try to improve upon ourselves. I never listen to somebody else and go, how can I make my music better than that band over there? Never. All you can do is like, look at your own band. How can I make the new Dark Angel stuff better than the last Dark Angel stuff? That's right. You can only compare yourself to yourself, really. So how does it feel having your wife on stage, Laura? Oh, it's always great, and I just got to forget that's my wife, she's the guitarist.
She jams.
I don't view her as, that's my wife. Like, Jesus. The LA shows that we just played, those were the most psychotic shows I've played since LA back in 1985, 86, 87. This was 1986 all over again in terms of the psychosis of the crowd.
Yeah.
Absolute nuts. And Laura Christine, our new guitarist, she's 5'1".
Yeah.
But I couldn't be concerned about oh my God, is somebody going to step on my wife? Somebody going to fall on my wife? I wasn't thinking that at all. It's like, man, she's a tough little badass. She's got it under control. She's fine, So
she jams.
She's a killer guitarist.
Shreds, yeah.
And that was, it was Jim's idea to bring her in, because we did.
Okay.
When we got back together in 2014, we started playing more shows. Jim had told us, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do everything that I can with Dark Angel, but at some point there's going to come a time when I'm not going to be able to make every tour or every, weekend of shows. It's just going to happen. I'm going to give it my best, but there will come a time when you guys are going to have to do, if you guys want to do stuff, you're going to have to do it without me. And we're like, okay, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And there was the time when Jim came up to Laura and myself and just said, look, tonight was my last Dark Angel show. Okay. And I want you to replace me. And I didn't see this coming. I thought maybe Jim and I would have a talk about this at some point, like, hey man, I got some thoughts. I'm not sure how, I know my schedule is going to, be a little crazy over the next few months, but I thought maybe Jim and I would have a talk about it going into it. And the talk was right then and right now. And when he's telling Laura, like, I want you to replace me, she's looking at me like, what? Like, boy, did you guys talk about this? And I'm looking at Jim like, whoa, this is, totally out of the blue for me, but wow. This is great.
Very cool.
And that's how that initially, Jim ended up doing a whole lot more with us after that night that he announced, this is my final show. It was not his final show. So we just kind of figured, well, we're going to just keep on rolling with Jim. And, Laura, you're, the backup if it ever comes to it. And Laura was always like, man, she's in Jim's corner. She's like, this, Dark Angel needs to be Jim. Of course, I'm here for backup purposes, for a weekend, whatever. I'm here for you guys. But, Jim is the man for Dark Angel. Absolutely.
May he rest in peace. Yeah.
We did not foresee Jim's passing.
Yeah.
We didn't foresee that. We knew, that we were going to be carrying on playing some shows with Laura. We knew that she was going to be playing some shows. We did not see Jim's passing coming. That was a complete shock and surprise to us. Wow. We had no idea. And so it's just a little on the strange side how this latest incarnation of Dark Angel, how this latest lineup, it's not very conventional how it has worked out. That our new guitarist is we have a new guitarist, and that new guitarist is Laura Christine. It wasn't a conventional, all right, a guy has stepped aside, here's his replacement. It goes a little deeper than that, just a little more on the, like, challenging from a feelings standpoint, from somebody's heart. And so, we are carrying on, and we do have experience with carrying on without Jim Durkin, from the Leave Scars to Time Does Not Heal lineup, like we've had to carry on without Jim in the past. And so we were able to do it. We just did not expect Jim to be taken from us, you know. Like, I found out on the Death to All tour, and so Laura and I both found out. We all found out while I was on the tour, so, and our Dark Angels crew is also on the Death to All tour with us. So it was a challenging, from that respect, trying to play shows, trying to entertain people, and, put that smile on your face that the fans deserve, of course, but inside your heart's breaking, and we're all pretty tough guys in Dark Angel, but it wasn't just like, oh yeah, a friend of the band passed away. We've had that happen throughout history, of course. Somebody's friend passes away. This is one of our direct family, passing away, and it was a death in the family, and it was very challenging to deal with, and we still are challenged by it. We all have our moments of, heavy moments, but we are grown men. We know how to stamp those feelings down, but that's one thing about Dark Angel, is that we are also very good with communicating our feelings to each other, for each other. We have each other's backs, and that comes with being a family for the last 40 years.
Right, yeah.
Like even when Dark Angel was not an active band, we were still tight. We were still close,
Okay.
So it's not like we broke up and just everybody just went their separate ways and, middle fingers in the air. It was not that at all. We were all still pals, and they'd come out to my shows when I'm playing in town. I'd go catch their shows when I'm, in town, when that kind of thing. So, we always stayed in touch. So that's why
Nice.
Us getting back together and just expressing ourselves through the music was a fun evolution for all of us. And so, that's why we are doing it without Jim, but we got our little sister, Laura Christine is the band's sister, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
She is a MFer on stage. So, from a playing standpoint, we are in fantastic shape. It's challenging from a mental standpoint for us all, but from the representation of Dark Angel's music, we're still awesome. She's a tight guitar player. She's amazing. Like she got the gig through her talent. It had nothing to do with her being my wife.
Like politics. No.
Yeah, man.
Nukem,
no,
yeah.
Not at all. It was a surprise to me. Jim made the decision, and it's like, okay, well, hey, from a playing standpoint, it makes perfect sense, because she definitely can play the material, no problem. So
yeah, she has for people listening, she has a band called Nukem, right? They're great. They're awesome.
She helps out Nukem. Yeah, those are our friends from San Diego, and she's helped out Nukem for, she's a member of Nukem. And Laura and I have our own project that's some next level metal. I can't wait to be able to concentrate on that aspect of our career together. Her riffs are insane.
Really?
And I'm stoked to play our stuff. And she's a riff writing machine, like Jesus. So I'm stoked to be able to get to the point where, all right, now we can concentrate on some of our stuff. She's helped out DETHKLOK in the past. She's jumped on stage with us, played with DETHKLOK and all that kind of stuff. So, she's a talented musician, and we're fortunate to have a talent such as her playing with Dark Angel. So I'm stoked from a playing standpoint. Absolutely. And the fact she's my best buddy and all that, that's awesome. Personally, that's awesome. Professionally, from the band standpoint, it's super awesome. So
wow.
Cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Real quick, Gene, before we let you go, any update on DETHKLOK? What's going on there?
Yeah, boy, I just, right before I called you, I just got off the phone with Brendan, and he had just sent me the brand new final completed mixes for the album. We got the movie coming out, we got the tour announced, that's both are gigantic. He let me know that tons of the tour is selling out. So
wow,
everybody start, definitely pick up your tickets, because those things are flying out the door. So
very cool.
A whole lot of sellouts are happening, and it's going to be a kick-ass tour, and the album is crushing. The movie is crushing. So that's what's happening. There's tons going on with DETHKLOK, and
wow.
It's the release is going to be on a massive scale, that when the album and the movie and the tour all drop around the same time. So it's going to be pretty much DETHKLOK in your face.
Looking forward to that. Wow, nice.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great. God, the movie sounds awesome. Brendan's been keeping us posted on how that's going, and the album is killer. There's 2 albums. We got 2 DETHKLOK albums coming out this year. So
oh wow.
So that's going to be badass.
Super exciting.
The soundtrack album, and then there's the Death album 4, kind of thing. So, and I was just in the car checking out the mixes for the first time. Like, we've been throwing mixes back and forth for the last couple of weeks, and now we just got the final. So I was in the car 2 minutes before I called you there, James.
Super exciting. Wow. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, man, it's killer.
So before we let you go, would you like to send a message to your fans listening to this podcast?
Well, to anybody who is a fan of myself or any of my bands, I sure want to thank you for your support throughout the years. Absolutely, man. We could not be doing this without you guys, and you're the reason why. You're the reason why I bring it every single night. Every single fan out there means so much to me and all of my projects. That's why we want to give you the best versions of us every single night. So we sure do appreciate your support. I do. And I would just suggest to keep up on anything Gene related or any of my projects, from Dark Angel, Death to All, DETHKLOK, anything out there. Just pay attention to the social media stuffs, and just keep your eyes open. And there's going to be a ton of just things about Gene coming out soon, all sorts of project information, all sorts of projects, all sorts of releases. So if you're a Gene fan, thank you very much. And just keep your eyes open, and hope to see everybody on the road real soon. Absolutely.
Awesome, Gene. Thank you for your time, and we'll catch you in Texas soon.
Thank you, James.
Great.
Cool, man. Sounds good, brother.
Great chatting with you. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, James. We'll catch you soon.
A tremendous honor of mine to speak with a legend, a drum legend like Gene Hoglan, one of the greatest drummers of all time in the rock metal industry, hands down. You have to agree with that. And anyways, thank you, Gene, for making time from your busy schedule. And for all you listeners, support Gene on his social media. Check out the DTA tours, DETHKLOK, and so on and so forth. Follow his projects and bands. And as far as you guys, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell on our YouTube channel, That Metal Interview Podcast. And for those of you that stream it on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and this and that, go ahead and do that. I appreciate that 1,000,000 times. And don't forget to keep it metal.
That Metal Interview.